without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage the first of our 6 experiment leaders. And we start with number 1, the Collective Action Framework. This is represented by the one and only Taylor Toplich. Layla Toplich has put together the Collective Action Framework. It is led by 3 organizations, NetHope, Mercy Corps, and War Child in Holland. So Layla, thank you very much indeed for being with us here in Dubai. We have the collective up on stage. Next up, number 2 for you. It's all the P's: play, pluralism, and the planet. Please welcome Dr. Andrew Cunningham. Dr. Andrew Cunningham leads the Play, Pluralism and Planet experiment. The collaborators of this experiment, including the Aga Khan Foundation, UNICEF Tanzania, Generation Earthshot, the Lego Foundation, Porticus, and of course the Global Center for Pluralism. Andrew, thank you for being with us. Appreciate your participation. Next up, please welcome to the stage another provocateur, another provoker. It is, of course, Eloise Haler for catalyzing systemic transformation in education. The collaborators on this one are Big Change, Innovation Unit, ANZ, Remake Learning, People for Education, and Learning Creates. Eloise, bless you, thanks for being with us here this evening. So 3 of our 6 on stage. Next up, number 4, Capturing Emerging Innovations in Ecosystems, Promoting Thriving. This is Leonora Dowley. Leonora's experiment is led by the Learning Planet, Gelp, and Dream a Dream as well. So big thanks to Leonora for being with us here today. As you can see, a truly international panel of experiments and, of course, provokers with us here today. Number 5 on the main stage today. It is integrating well-being into rural school outcomes. Please welcome Salman Sabab. Someone's taking the alternative route, you know, so doing things a little bit differently. That's what it's all about. So Salman is with us here. The experiment is led by BRAC Social Innovation Lab, and it is experiment number 5. And Salman's definitely going the long way round on this one, isn't he, eh? Making quite the entrance to proceedings. So quite right too. That's how to take your place, which means we have 1 more seat for you. And the final seat before we hand over to the team for a little bit of questioning is filled by number 6. Reimagined Collective and Education Technology Venture Studio, brought to you by George Vinton. The collaborators on this project are Asta Global Partners, Common Group, Reimagined Capital, and Start Ed. So these are your 6 experiments. These are your 6 provokers. Please put your hands together for our 6 seeded finalists. And Aman, before we welcome up on stage other delegates, over to you for the grilling.
So the grant has still not been approved. This is the final round. But congratulations, everyone. Well done for the hard work put in the last several weeks and months. I think for some of us in the audience, it'd be good to understand, what is the experiment that has been your experiment? And why does it really matter in today's time and age? And let's start with that, and then we'll see how the, adrenaline is pumping after that. Let the energy levels cool. So maybe, Layla, we'll get started with you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for all of the support throughout the experiment process. So the EdTech Collective's Collective Action Framework that is represented by NetHope, Mercy Corps, and War Child Holland is really committed to rewiring education by rewiring how we collaborate for meeting the needs of youth on the move. So that includes refugees, displaced, migrants, and marginalized host community youth. And what we've created as part of this experiment is a collective action framework that guides coalitions of diverse stakeholders, including youth and local communities, in number of things: co-creating sustainable solutions, partnering in a meaningful way with young people and with the local community, something we've been hearing quite a bit about at this summit, and innovating responsibly with technology. We plan to, with this support, further develop this framework, invite all of you to collaborate with us so that your experiences and expertise are represented throughout this framework, and operationalize the framework in a local market in East Africa so we can deliver the outcomes that we envision. And that really covers a holistic set of needs for the young people, including literacy and numeracy, skills training, social and emotional well-being support, and connecting them to the real-world opportunities, including jobs.
Thank you, Layla. So, Andy, moving on to you, so your experiment has been built around this arc of, play, planet, which has been, I guess, always happening in the education and climate. Just the session before this in the plenary had that very topic. But you've brought in the additional element of pluralism in there. So help us understand, why you feel that this experiment has a place in the world today, and why is what you're doing going to make an impact going forward?
First of all, I've never been part of a game show. So I'm excited to be on the stage, but also here with us is Dr. Daniel Bahetta from UNICEF Tanzania, who's the Chief of Education from UNICEF in the audience. And so without his support, and they only allowed one of us to be up here, this would not happen. But for the question that we have really asked ourselves is, how might we prepare the next generation of more climate literate, climate compassionate, and climate resilient learners and educators by 2030? And we believe that through play, we really can become climate literate through an innovative approach to making it fun, to making it joyful, and to putting teachers at the forefront of that approach. For climate compassionate, our response is pluralism. Before we begin to think about and rethink about our relationship to the planet, we need to be encouraging a more ethical embrace of difference among ourselves, the relationships between one another. And then finally, for the climate resilience, thinking about how these innovations, and in particular this alliance, reaches the farthest ends of our planet in the most rural and underserved communities, so that they are at the forefront of deciding how might they actually lead this agenda around climate change and education. And it truly is an emerging alliance. And today, the panel beforehand, but also the panel today with the teachers, it is a collaboration of a teacher-led approach that is speaking directly to that fourth silent P, those policy moments that ministers around the world in education are trying to understand, what do I do around the future of the climate in and through our school systems? And we hope to be their partners moving forward.
Thank you, Andy. In fact, I should say that, Andy and his organization, AKDN, was dealing with the effects of what happened in Afghanistan, so I really salute their, energy in kind of making sure this experiment takes off the ground, so thank you, Andy. Eloise, your experiment around driving ecosystem change with youth at the heart of it, getting a conversation going. Help us understand what this experiment is and why this has relevance in our world today.
Thanks. Yeah, firstly, I'd like to say I've never been part of a game show. I've also never been part of a sandbox. So thank you for your support and for bringing us together. I'm really excited to continue the kind of playful approach to collaboration that you started here. So we are an ecosystem builders alliance, and fundamentally that's a learning alliance between organizations that have found themselves playing this really unusual catalyst role in transforming education systems, specifically at a regional or a national level. So what do we mean by catalyst? It's bringing usual and unusual suspects together to engage, to activate together, broadening the tent, and holding space for that long-term vision and the vision of scale that thinks about reconsidering purpose. So we came together because we found ourselves quite exceptional in our context, and that can be quite lonely work. But when we started connecting and talking, we realized that not only did we have shared goals, but we also had a lot of learning to do from each other, as well as holding each other accountable and deepening the work in our places. So we've begun this alliance with the question, our kind of what if, is can we identify a set of key ingredients to playing the role of catalyst in this regional, national education system transformation? And if we can we then work to deepen and craft our understanding of those ingredients so that we turn them from kind of these initiatives from what my colleague Tom Beresford calls beautiful exceptions into a field of expertise. So most importantly, can we then share that effectively so that we can inform and inspire other initiatives? So that's the plan.
Thank you, Louise. Leonora, you've been traveling as well, so tell us now, with the work that you're doing, which is around building ecosystems for cities, like designing a completely, I would say, city-wise learning environments. I mean, that's a very different approach. I know some cities have been trying that, but you've taken that as a focus from a learning planet perspective. So tell us about that, please.
Thank you. So, I mean, first of all, I want to thank Dubai Cares for this opportunity and for putting this together, and for Radical for all of the support they've given us over the last 6 months, or probably longer, actually, I think. This experiment is all about learning ecosystems. It's being led by the Learning Planet, which is a global open alliance of educational stakeholders who are working to empower people to learn to take care of themselves, others, and the planet. Alongside the Global Education Leaders Partnership, which is a partnership of system leaders who are working to make sure that learners all over the world thrive. And Dream a Dream, which is an organization based in Delhi working with vulnerable children. Those are the 3 key partners, but we're here particularly to look for other people who would like to work with us. So in 2019, Valerie Hannon and the Innovation Unit published a piece of work about learning ecosystems, which are defined as formal, non-formal, informal ways of learning together, a bit like a biological ecosystem. And the work was really quite new. Learning ecosystems as a concept is something that's really only been talked about for the last 10 or so years. And because of the time constraints of the research, most of it was done about learning ecosystems in high-resource contexts, which is a real problem because this has always been the case. We look at what happens in high-resource contexts and then we try and apply them, or what we're learning, to low-resource contexts without really understanding that it's not going to work like that. The context itself is different. So what we would like to do is take that as read, but go to low-resource contexts where either scalable or already scaled learning ecosystems are emerging or have emerged, and research a little bit about what they look like, what they can do, with a view to informing key policy and potentially taking that learning and applying it back to high-resource contexts. To us, it's really important to have the circle going. It's no longer high-resource context telling low-resource context what to do. The information can go both ways. So what we are hoping is that this will give confidence for policy solutions rather than remaining as marginal innovations, which is how they're seen at the moment. We are looking forward to working with anybody here or elsewhere who is working within a low-resource or lower-resource learning ecosystem. And we're looking forward to this time next year presenting, hopefully, at RewirEd, the outcome of the research.
Thank you, Leonora. So with the last two finalists, I mean, we're, I think, actually running just over time. So I'd like you to focus on telling us what your experiment, especially with BRAC, that's focused on well-being in rural settings, and what you've done, which is remarkable. I mean, I think people should have a look at the journal they've produced for children to kind of help sort of document and lock their thinking in terms of mental well-being and health. So please, Salman.
Thank you, Aman. So basically, how you can decode well-being into the school system, that is all about our experiment, because we have seen that during COVID-19, there is a mental impact, health impact of our students because of this prolonged school closure. So we really try to understand how we can integrate well-being through teacher training, through learning assessment of the students, or giving students some tools like the journal that Aman showed, that through which the students, the teachers can practice well-being, and it can be integrated into the overall system. So we have done a very interesting experiment over the last 3-4 months, and we are capturing a lot of insights, and we aim to develop a well-being index through which we can kind of measure the outcome of the students, so that we really understand the best practices of integrating well-being into our overall education system. Thank you.
Thank you, Salman. And last but not least, George, tell us about the Reimagined Collective and what you are up to with that.
Thanks, Aman. And Salman, you were so concise. I'm not sure I can follow quite as well, but it's great to be here. Very grateful to have received or be considered for this. The Reimagined Collective is designed to experiment with the idea of building the MENA region's first education technology venture studio. And it's in partnership with our friends at StartEd, the Global Accelerator, and Asta Global Partners, a leading investment firm in the region. And what a venture studio is really a very focused way of building new technology interventions and new ventures that have a specific theme to them. And we, as part of our experiment, learned through a bootcamp process and through the solicitation of a number of different educational technology ventures in the region, that there are real challenges to building edtech in MENA, as there are in many other parts of the world. And with our experience working in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, and across the US, and our local partners who really bring deep expertise in the education systems of the MENA region, we are looking to pull together venture capital, shared services that are that enable accelerated learning and development around new venture creation, and particularly a focused thesis that identifies where are the opportunities, where are the needs for education technology in this region, and pulls local founders who understand the educational context of this region together to build those education technology ventures. And so the Venture Studio will be the vehicle through which all of those things happen, and will ultimately seed 6 new education technology ventures per year on a sustainable basis in order to address some of the biggest challenges that we're seeing, not just from the fallout from COVID, but also from the increasing needs that are falling on the education system that really can only be solved with technology.
Well, thank you all. I mean, I was wondering whether any one of you would start their acceptance speech by saying, I'd like to thank my neighbor and my friends, but no one did that, so we're good for that. Tom, I'd like to bring you back on stage. Thank you very much, everyone.
So, ladies and gentlemen, to that end, I want to say a huge thanks to Aman. I want to say a huge thanks to all 6 of our finalists. And in good old quiz show, in good old chat show style, can we give a big round of applause, please? Thank you very much indeed. Unfortunately, we don't have massive checks to hand out or anything like that. There's nothing like that. But all inspires, all provokers of thoughts, and all, of course, onto the next step of this extraordinary journey. To that end, we'd also just like to acknowledge a couple of other individuals that are with us here in the room, because these are the 6 experiments that have been lucky enough to get the grant seeding to move forward. But we had so many experiments bidding for that process. And we've got a couple of those that came oh so close. And therefore, we'd like to take this opportunity, if we may, and I know it's getting late in the day, just to welcome up 3 more of the experiments who came oh so close to the seeding process. And we are pretty much guaranteed, as Aman said earlier, that they will be back because their ideas are equally brilliant. And that's why we'd like to give them an opportunity to come up here on stage. So if you could join me in welcoming on stage to join the 6 finalists, Girls as Leaders of Tomorrow. Please welcome Paige up onto stage. We'd also like to welcome up onto stage Educate Skills for Future. And also joining us up here on the main stage, please welcome Connected Education by Unhcr. So the 3 that came oh so close, and a huge thanks to they. Aman.
Thank you. So, as Tom rightly mentioned, I mean, this is not just about winners. We want to appreciate the effort that everyone's put in. So I want to, begin by understanding, and again, in a similar fashion, help everyone understand what the experiment that you were working on is all about, because you want to get your supporters on board for this one as well. And we're going to wrap up. In case anyone's planning to leave, we want to make sure that all the other participants of these experiments come on stage and get recognized. So please don't leave away, because we want to make sure that everyone's in the room. So with that, I'll start with you to talk about the Unhcr experiment, please.
Hi, everyone.
Mike?
So my organization, Learning Equality, was honored to be one of the many organizations, thought leaders in education technology and education, brought together for this experimentation. And the goal was really to identify ways to meaningfully engage refugees in connected education initiatives and influence policy and change in a meaningful way. And we did this with the idea of creating something concrete, like a guidance kit or a toolkit that can provide useful resources on different aspects of connected education initiatives that could be considered. And it was a really fun and engaging process, but we think a toolkit of this sort is incredibly paramount in ensuring that refugees are included in digital education initiatives.
Thank you so much. Fajr, tell us about the work being done in Pakistan for girls' education.
First of all, thank you very much, Aman. And again, thank you and Radical team for all the support we've had over the last few months. So Girls as Leaders of Tomorrow is an experiment that Pakistan Alliance for Girls Education, we designed based on our challenges in the country and really looking at how we can create national level larger impact. We are a huge country with a big population. We've got multiple challenges. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about women's rights. We're talking about economy. We talk about many issues that we're faced with. And we believe that girls' education could be used as a tool to address most of these challenges that we have in Pakistan. So this is how the whole experiment came about, based on our learning and experience of groundwork across Pakistan, where we felt that we really need to bring all the stakeholders together to address these issues, to start these conversations, to have girls' education recognized as a challenge, as a problem, as just mainstreaming girls' education in the country, and have that acceptance from the government that something needs to be done to address the issues of girls' education. Under the experiment, we're bringing all the stakeholders together. I'm hoping that we continue with the experiment because there's much needed work that needs to be done. And we're looking to come up with an action plan that really addresses the challenges through systematic, targeted programming, through data, and really facilitating the stakeholders, the donors, the government, the civil society to plan their initiatives based on the challenges and the data, the challenges that data highlights in different districts in Pakistan. So we can really accelerate the impact. A lot of work that is going on in Pakistan is not planned. There are no forums to share knowledge. There are no forums to sit together and plan initiatives. There are no ways to measure the impact. And this is what we hope to do, that we can bring all of these key stakeholders together. So whatever work is done, it's mapped. The key stakeholders are mapped. An ecosystem is developed where girls' education is specially designed in current context and current challenges in Pakistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fajr. And last but not least, our 9th experiment from Educate. Please tell us about the work being done to engage governments in Africa.
Thank you so much. Our experiment as Educate is about having testing effective strategies that can help us leverage government relationships because we believe that if we have those effective relationships with government, we can be able to reform education, and we believe we can expand in other countries if we have this relationship that are aiming at helping us reform education and promote skills-based education, where we believe that through promoting entrepreneurs, that can only be done through reform-based education. And so we hope that we can partner with different countries across Africa really to learn and understand how effectively we can work with these governments across those nations within Africa to reform education and promote entrepreneurs, especially for the youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Tom, you've
So
heard the
without-
final word. I'll leave it back to you now.
Indeed, yeah, without further ado, just again, if we could ask for one final round of applause for our 6th grant-seeded finalists and, of course, our 3 runners-up.